Hey, we are talking about Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 1, entitled The Stargazer. We are going to give our spoiler free reviews of the episode, and then we're going to get into a spoiler discussion of the episode starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I am Nathan.
I'm Colin.
I'm David.
So, the spoiler free description of this episode released by Paramount Plus is Starfleet must once again call on legendary Jean-Luc Picard after members of his former crew, Cristóbal Rios, 7 and 9, Raffi Musiker, and Dr. Agnes Jurati, discover an anomaly in space that threatens the galaxy. This is the season premiere of Picard. So let's start with David. What did you think of this episode? Spoiler free, of course.
I had little expectation for it though because let's say what to expect and everything. They didn't reveal too much in the teasers. But after watching the episode, there was surprise after surprise after surprise. But I love it though, and it's the quality of this story of this episode is a lot, but it's the quality is so much better and everything. It makes me want to watch even more. The next.
Yeah. Okay. Colin, what did you think of the episode?
Yeah, I basically went back to the first season. I think the last 3 or 4 episodes, I think was the episode with Riker and Troy to kind of start there because I kind of stopped at that point, and then of course I watched some of the clips and stuff like that of the final episodes with Data and also with Riker and stuff like that. So it was really interesting to kind of see that nostalgia trip. And so I watched it all last night, and then I started watching it today. So definitely, I felt as though this was much more faster paced and more the storytelling was much more flowy, rather than it was kind of choppy in terms of the first season, and then you kind of left some strings kind of loose and things like that. Certain Romulan character was kind of like just let go by the wayside and stuff. And I think that definitely, again, storytelling wise, very flowy, very tight, and just a very good overall experience with the story itself, and then the mystery of what's happening as it evolves. It was really fascinating, and as David said, it was really edge of your seat type of drama that was coming through it. So I definitely enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, same. I enjoyed the episode. Love that they did sort of jump right into this new development as Picard is, I guess, he's trying to settle back into, or, has sort of settled into life back at his family vineyard, because this is, a year or so after the events of the previous season. And I'll just leave it there.
So, yeah, I like this episode a lot as well. I'm not going to spoil anything from the episode, but I mean, if you don't want anything spoiled, I'm going to mention things that are in the trailer. If you haven't watched the trailer, I'm not sure why you're watching this. Go watch the episode. Go watch the episode, and then come back if you don't want things talked about even in the trailer. But I appreciate so we get a couple people coming back that we've been anticipating, which would show up in the trailer. We see Q in this episode. We see Guinan in this episode, which was awesome. This, I think, I like this episode on the whole. There's some nitpicks here or there about what they decided to do with Picard and a potential romantic interest, which we can get into, which kind of annoyed me. But besides that, I liked it. It sets up the season fairly well. I think they did a little bit of too much hand waving with where they dropped some threads at the end of last season there are some explanations for why people are where they are right now, which was too neat and too cute for me. But on the whole, I think it was a good episode. I think it was a really good start to the season, and I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen over the next they have 10 episodes, I think, over the next 10 episodes. So
10 episodes. Yeah.
Okay, so is it?
Can I say, coming right off of Discovery, that I
Yes,
appreciate
they look
how
definitely. They definitely look. I mean, they kind of look like they're definitely made by the same production studio, but you also see the difference in the eras, right? Because even down to like watching, because I watched Discovery first before I watched this episode. Just even down to I've gotten used to how how the transporters work in Discovery and how like, snappy and quick they are. So like resetting to like the slow TNG thing and how long it takes to transport from one place to another compared to how quickly you can transport 1,000 years in the future in Discovery I appreciated that they had all those elements there. So yeah, I guess, I mean, unless you guys have anything else, we can start jumping into a spoiler breakdown of the episode. So I should say, if you are enjoying the conversation, please join the conversation by commenting down below and liking and subscribe to help out the channel. And as I've said in previous videos, if you want to get the rest of the conversation, if you like the video, YouTube will bring it up for you so you can get the rest of the conversation. And that's the last spoiler warning. So spoilers ahead. Okay. All right. What do you guys want to talk about?
Let's start.
I think you guys want to talk about his romantic interest first.
Yeah.
It's basically like you start off with the opening scene where, well, we'll go back to this a little bit, but basically we start at the beginning where we have Chateau Picard, where his family has been have this vineyard for the past, I don't know, several generations, and then we saw Picard living his life after the first season. And then he's admiring his wine and everything. And the next thing we know, we have this sudden moment where Picard gazed his eyes upon the Laris, who is the Romulan caretaker there. And I'm thinking, like, when I saw it, I'm thinking, what just happened here? And then later on, we fast forward a little bit. There was during the night, they had wine together. And next thing you know, she ended up talking about what's his name, Zarbon, the other Romulan caretaker.
I think it's like Joven or something. Joven, I think his name is. Then, they summarily wrote him out without explaining what was happening with him at all. They basically fridged him so that they could give Picard a romantic, unceremoniously fridged him. Not only did they unceremoniously fridge him, they gave her the most ridiculous, obviously man-written lines to say, "Oh, I'm over," basically saying, "Oh, I'm over him, now I'm on you." That's basically what she said. I'm over him already, and because of my culture, I have to move on. Like lines obviously written by men. And did I mention that this episode was written by Akiva Goldsman and Terry Matalas? Okay. So yeah, it was. It was ridiculous. It was super forced, and I liked. I mean, I feel like Laris had more to do in the last season, but I liked her husband, and I wanted to see more of both of them in this season. So I don't know how you guys felt about that, but I definitely I think what David said I echo. It was weird.
It was like an unexpected curveball that you just enjoying the scene. Next thing you have this sudden sign there saying, "What the heck?"
Yeah, yeah. I kind of found it very weird in that hey, let's just try to make Picard love again, like love women again. It's like we've seen it in the previous TNG episodes where, he's kind of very private about his love life. I mean, we can pretty much name off all of the love interests that he's had in the past and things like that. And I just found it very unusual that they're trying to bring this up again, even later on we'll get to the Guinan part, but like even when they were talking together, Guinan and Picard were talking together, they were discussing about his love life, and like usually they did a few episodes here and there discussing it, and then they have the Crusher Picard on and off relationship and things like that. But he's a very private, and also very just very just private in general. Just don't want to get all his stuff out there. I just remember the whole thing when he was on Ryza, if you remember that, where he was
Jamar, yeah.
It was the funniest thing in Riker's phone that he had.
The girl was Vash.
Vash, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and you can go back to TNG episodes to rewatch that if you want. But and I just think that it's something that has been done before, and I thought that they would kind of leave it by the wayside and just not address that and just kind of go back to the whole duty and honor thing. But it seems as though they want to bring it back for some odd reason. They just brought it back when there really wasn't much there, and also they kind of shut that off within the movies, with the exception of Insurrection, where, in Insurrection there was a kind of a fling that he had. With
Anish,
yeah, Niche. So it had a little bit of a fling, but they never went anywhere with that, even though he said that he wanted to visit her and stuff like that. But anyways, that's Picard's love. I just found it very interesting that they want to bring it back, bring that back up.
I think that's
Flings.
why, though, because he's had all of these sort of
substantial,
kind of flings, but nothing ever seemed to stick. Right? And I guess the thinking is like there's something, and to Guinan, that conversation he has with Guinan, she's like, they didn't stick for a reason, because you maybe didn't want them to stick, and then you're running from sight. I guess it's because he's never, I think if he had been completely closed off throughout TNG and throughout the movies to romantic interests, then it would seem extremely awkward. But he's come close, right, to and sort of expressed some desire to want a partner long term and more serious, although he's never, I guess, wanted children. But he sort of expressed that, but he hasn't. Of all the things he's done in his life, that seems to be sort of the one thing that I don't want to say falls short, but I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say
just one more point.
I don't think that.
Go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead.
I have an issue with him having a romantic situation. It's just that having it with her in that way, it just seemed forced. Laris. With Laris.
Her as in
it just seemed
Laris?
forced the way that they did it with her. I don't have an issue with him exploring love, because he's definitely not like a eunuch. We've seen him in romantic relationships before. But the way that they wrote him with her is what I have the issue with, and also, like I said, the stupid lines that they put in that actress's mouth to say it just seemed like a weird alien, female alien thing that a guy would write back in the 60s. Like my pheromones make me super attracted to you, or whatever. So something like I said, it was not that bad, but it's almost that bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to make one more point about this. I mean, going back to what Condra said about the children, I mean, it was kind of written in TNG that he really detested having families on the ship, and then he kind of softened up as it went along. There was an episode where he was trapped in a turbo lift with kids and stuff like that. They made a Captain Picard day, so he got kind of softened up a little bit. And then when his nephew passed away, I think it really changed him into a very kind of longing for family, and we saw that in his Nexus world that he wanted a family, he wanted kids, but I think that they just never picked that up, because I think that they were just kind of going along with the duty and honor part, and saving the universe once again and again and again. So they just never kind of went back to that, and I just kind of found it surprising that even after the first season of Picard, they're going to this well again.
Sorry,
it's just kind of surprising to me.
They also did. Oh, sorry. I had to point this out too, and it's also that there was an episode in TNG where the Ferengi said that he captured his son, which turned out it was not his real son. But during the time before he found the real truth about the boy, he did found like a bond with him. It makes him realize saying being a parent is not as bad as he thought. It makes him reconsider.
Yeah, that also brings up the fact
there.
that that's yet another woman who he was with for a short period of time, because it was possible that it was his son. Yeah, it was possible that it was his son. So there are a lot of women that he was with for short periods of time. But yeah, you can definitely, to Colin's point, after losing his nephew and his brother, you definitely see more of a longing for family, and also in this episode, he mentions that he's the last Picard, and he feels a certain way about that, because he comes from a line of very accomplished people, and he never felt in Star Trek First Contact, we hear him talking to, I think, Counselor Troy, or was it Crusher? I forget who he admitted that why he was so mad, because he felt like the burden of. It was Troy. The burden of carrying on the family name wasn't necessarily on him, but now he feels like he's going to die, and the name Picard is going to die. I think that's also why he developed a special bond with Elnor as well, as like kind of a surrogate son. So yeah, he definitely has a longing for family, but not necessarily in the traditional sense. I don't think he wants to be pinned down, because he did abandon Elnor for like majority of his childhood. so yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
it's kind of again the whole duty and honor thing. He still needed to save the Romulans and stuff like that. And I think that conversation was in Generations. Actually, it was in the first Star Trek TNG movie.
It was in the first. I thought it was the Contact.
But yeah. It was in Generations, because the whole storyline about his nephew dying was all in Generations.
Yeah.
Okay.
First Contact was when the Borg went back to the past before the first transwarp event.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, to bring it back to this episode, I think what they're also trying to do is get us to understand that part of him, right? Because you see the flashback, his mother. When they first move back to France, or to this part of France, to the vineyards. So I guess I get the sense that we're also, going to learn more about why Jean-Luc Picard is the way that he is, I guess, throughout this, and some of his motivations and how he was raised. Because he didn't have a great relationship with his brother. Originally, right? And you see, David was talking about that early scene where it's the, I guess they're harvesting and bottling wine, but he really modernized the vineyard, and his brother was kind of, definitely against that. And you see like all of these modern contraptions and ways of doing it, and so he's sort of doing things his own way. But yeah, I think like that pride in his family, and then that awareness that he is the last, and what that means, given that he comes from a family of explorers, it's going to be interesting. So I'm curious to see like how that specifically plays out, because I don't think you ever really heard a lot about his mother and what must have happened.
We got a little bit. We got a little bit from his mother. You actually reminded me of something when you brought her up. So they had her in this episode in a flashback, speaking with a British accent to sort of like explain away why he has a British accent. But she showed up. she showed up before in TNG. So when they went to like the edge of the universe, they all started to hallucinate, and he saw his mother as an old woman, and she definitely had a French accent then.
Yes,
so
that's right.
I guess they thought people would forget, but I'm not sure why they think Star Trek people would forget. This is what nerds do, but exactly.
We never forget.
But that's after many years of living in France.
The 80s, you know, it's like an 87. Like, that's
so
first
she
season
shows
probably.
up, and we get I think that actress is definitely going to show up more in the season because I think he's going to definitely have more flashbacks because I think they're kind of linking her to the Queen because the Queen says something at the end of the episode that is exactly this. Actually, she says it at the beginning of the episode as well because they show the end of the episode at the beginning of the episode. The Queen says something that his mother says. So I think we're definitely going to get more flashbacks to his past. And actually, I was watching Ready Room and Sir Patrick Stewart was saying that these might be flashes from his past, but he might be a little bit of a unreliable narrator because it's difficult to accurately describe how your childhood went because it's from your point of view and your understanding of the world. So what he's remembering might not have been what actually happened. So that should be interesting to see in the coming.
That would be very interesting because I think because he was part of the board for a while, you never know if it's just a manipulation or some type of deception that he is doing, or even if they're going to go the Ben Cisco route where it's like, oh, he was, his family was Borg. It's like, that would be very mind bending if that was the case. If they did something like that, I would be like totally shocked if they did that. But of course, they did that with Cisco,
his mother
with the
was
emissary and stuff like that.
Part wormhole alien, or was a wormhole alien? Oh no, his mother was possessed by a wormhole alien. That's to create him. So yeah, that's how they describe. That's how they created the Cisco.
Correct.
The Cisco. So maybe
Yes.
I think I don't know. I don't think that she's going to be a previous Borg. I think, as you said, he was assimilated, so they probably have all of his memories. Even what his mother said to him. So I think that's how they got that information. So yeah.
Right.
So
right.
I'm trying to remember the sequence of events in this episode. So as David said, we start in the vineyard, then we go on to, because we catch up with everyone from the previous cast. I think we go from the vineyard to the the ship. Seven and Emmett.
7 and 9.
What Seven
ship.
has done is she's merged all the holograms into all the personalities into Emmett. So it's still Emmett's personality, but all the program. So he's the engineer and also the counselor because he tries to do some counseling with her later on. So all the programs, but his personality, which I think he's probably the most colorful. So it was good that they kept him. So yeah, we see some prejudice against her. We see that she's with the Fenris Rangers again. Rios has given her this ship. There was a pretty cool action scene at the beginning of the episode here. Apparently, there's a 1.5 hour prelude, like audio drama between Seven and whatchamacallit, and that you can get. I haven't listened to it yet. Have any of you listened to it? No. Yeah, so
No.
It goes into their relationship because
I didn't know either.
The last season they hint at them having a relationship, right? So it goes into why they're not together at the beginning of this episode, at the beginning of the season. So I think they have a bit of a relationship, but Seven is kind of committed, and Raffi mentions this later on. Seven's committed to the Rangers, so I guess we get some of that backstory in the audio drama. So yeah, I think from there we go to Starfleet Academy, or do we go to Soji? I forget. because
Starfleet Academy was
because okay, so we go to Starfleet Academy and figure out
Soji,
we find out where Elnor is and also where Raffi is. So Raffi has gotten her commission back. She's on the Excelsior ship, and that's where Elnor is going to go as well because he's a cadet. I'm not sure why they're assigning cadets to ships, but whatever. Maybe this is part. Maybe this is part of their part. Maybe this is part of their training. Maybe it's not a permanent assignment. So there, Jean-Luc gives a speech here, and this is when he alludes to what his mother said. Look up in his speech. There's a bunch of flags behind him, and there's all kinds of comments online about the flags because there's like a Klingon flag, and the Klingons are definitely not part of the Federation. So I guess it's just flags of people who are friendly with the Federation and also Federation worlds, because the Klingons are there, but also the Bajorans are there, and people were speculating, well, the Bajorans by this time have joined the Federation, but it's not necessarily the case because the Klingon flag was there. But anyway, there's just some background stuff that people were looking at was interesting. So I guess from here we go to the we go to Soji and Agnes. So they're on a planet doing a goodwill tour for androids, basically. Pretty
much.
She's like an ambassador representing the synthetics and the androids. This is the other part of
the episode that I didn't like. Because I think we were talking over in the lead up to this episode that they better have a good explanation for why she's not in jail, why Jurati is not in jail, and they kind of explain it away in a line, and that is another forced part of the episode as well. She just has this expository dump on this guy who was hitting on her. She just basically gives her whole life story because she's drunk. She's not with Rios anymore. She just now got off of being convicted of murder because she was under mind control by an alien. Like, why is she giving all this information to this random person? It's basically just saying to the audience, forget everything that happened at the end of the season. We're resetting. We're resetting. We don't want her to be in jail. Just deal with it. It's like
But is that unrealistic given how, you think of our current justice system, right? People get off for temporary insanity, and she was genuinely under, the premise.
How it was delivered is
unrealistic. I think the way it came out was sort of, how it was delivered.
She seems super flippant about it as well. And I think maybe because she was drunk, but it was a weird way, because she did kill someone, regardless of whether or not it was temporary insanity or not. I don't need her to feel like remorseful for the whole rest of the season. But like some sort of guilt or something, or at least not keeping or not treating the death of a person so casually would be, I don't know. So
going back to the ships, I don't know if this is a thing right now as to why are they because I got confused because they were renaming ships of the past and they're having new ships. Is that a new thing for all the Star Trek shows right now that they're renaming ships, or that's just some question I had? Like with the Stargazer. Is that like a retrofitted Stargazer of this, like the original? Or
I think
Excelsior.
At this point, it's 20 years in the future. So the Excelsior might be a retrofit, but that's a completely different Stargazer. Right. That's not Picard's ship. And actually, also the registration number I think is a little bit longer. So it's not his ship. It's the next generation of his ship, or maybe two generations of his ship, because he does mention that the ship that because Picard, when he gets on the ship later on, he says that it was a retrofit. So maybe the ship that came after his was retrofitted for Rios. But it's not Picard's ship. It just bears the same name, just like just like Picard's ship bears the same name as Kirk's ship. So, and I guess Kirk's ship bears the same name as Archer's ship. So
Got it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I have to mention this though. There was a scene where Picard aboard at the Stargazer that 7 of 9 mentioned that this specific,
because it has
specific
Borg. It has
Stargazer
Borg.
is the first of its
Yeah.
class. So this is basically it's Borg, yeah. So, but it's not basically. I mean, the ones I said like the D or something like that, because like the Enterprise in TNG is what UCC
Yeah.
1701D. Because
This was a Constitution class ship, but the way they differentiate this one, they didn't add a letter at the end of it. They just added another number. So the registration number is a little bit longer than Picard's ship. Yeah. What was I about to say? So I think that then we actually jump to the Stargazer. So we find out where Rios is, and now he's the captain of the Stargazer. And apparently you can smoke on the bridge. Huh? He never
likes it though.
I don't know. Maybe he has an oral fixation or something like that because he has it in his mouth a lot. So I guess he doesn't light it. Apparently there was a. This is also what people complained last season. There was a edict from Roddenberry that no one smokes in the future. So having Raffi smoke last season and also having him with the cigar would definitely not be Roddenberry, which we call it. Although, I mean, he will always get credit for creating the beginning of this franchise, but all the rules that he put in place for TNG made it a terrible show at the very beginning. And when he passed away, and they could loosen up on some of those things, the show got a lot better. So anyway, so yeah, Rios is in charge of the Stargazer. He's the captain of the Stargazer. They come upon a anomaly in space, and actually, I think Emmett mentions the anomaly first. So we don't see the anomaly when Emmett mentions it, or do we see it when from their ship? I forget if we saw the.
It was a different. It was
yeah.
It was the USS Avalon at the beginning, and then the USS Stargazer was assigned to this one later because I believe it was a science vessel as well.
Yeah, so 7 was there first.
7 and 6
so
yeah.
I think back on Earth we get I think we get a little some more of like Picard having like flashbacks or something like that, and then an admiral comes to speak to him because the information that's being sent to the Stargazer is Jurati deciphers the message, and it says Picard help Picard or Picard help or something like that. So he is asked to go back into service, because at this point he's the commandant of Starfleet Academy, which I forgot to mention earlier on. This is why he was giving the speech at the beginning of the new class, and also pointing out that Elnor is the first Romulan to join Starfleet.
Full Romulan.
Yes, the full Romulan, because like as you said, there. Well,
yeah,
I don't know. The guy from that episode was a half Romulan, and he didn't declare that he was a half Romulan, and he was also an enlisted person. He wouldn't have gone through Starfleet Academy. He was enlisted. He was like O'Brien. He was an enlisted man. So, and also you have to account for full Romulan who's actually who isn't a spy, because would have been Commodore O would have been the first Romulan, but she was a spy. So
But they did mention from the first season that she was half Romulan and half Vulcan.
Was she?
They mentioned about that from the first season. Yeah, I because I saw it yesterday. I saw the like season 1 episodes. I think who mentioned it? I think it was Raffi who was trying to like piece together everything and what Commodore Orla was all about. So they just
that makes sense
mentioned that
because
she was half
typically
half
Romulans don't have
Vulcan.
the mental discipline to do mind melds, which is what she did to give Jurati
Right.
Um.
Correct.
So yeah, we go back to so Picard goes off on a shuttle, and he doesn't even tell Laris that he's leaving. So like, that's like, he's
yeah, that was kind of bad. That was like such
I was
a
like this.
yeah.
It's like she's
I think they
ditching
had
her.
that awkward moment in the morning after she sort of
she's like
her shot and he shuts it down. She's like, what did she make some comment about him always being late, even though.
Yeah, she also says. I mean, he tries to
like
say,
that,
everything can go back to normal.
So,
She's like, yeah, I'm too old for awkward, and it's like everything cannot go back to normal. We're gonna have to adjust some things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go or something like that. I'm too old for this crap. Is basically what she said.
Oh boy.
Okay. So yeah,
That's just tragic.
It's a what?
Yeah.
It's a non-force line.
Yeah.
It's a non-force line because he forced it on her to say the line of saying, I love him a lot, and now I'm in love with you right now. And now he says about
she's gonna show up
awkwardness.
later in the
like,
season, even though at the end of this episode we could get some weird timey-wimey stuff. But she's gonna show up later, and we'll see. I guess we'll see where because she actually again, this is from the trailers. She shows up in the trailers without Romulan ears, so I guess she's a spy because she's part of the she wasn't part of the Zhat Vash, but she was part of the Tal Shiar. So she was a spy before.
Tal Shiar.
Tal Shiar.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get to the Rios. We see everyone basically saluting him as he goes down the corridor because he's an admiral, which is kind of. Sorry. Yes,
his interaction with Guinan.
I forget where it was though. Like where was it?
Rewind.
Oh,
it was a little after the
You're
ceremony,
right.
when everyone left to the.
When he started having visions, I think, is when he went to check in with Guinan. Yeah, and that was great. That was great. I had like one issue with that scene, but it's a small nitpick because it was good to see Whoopi Goldberg. It was good to see like Patrick Stewart has like genuine affection for Whoopi Goldberg and like.
Yeah.
It seems like even whenever he talks about her joining the cast, always felt like she was like this Hollywood actress who had just come off of winning an Academy Award. It was weird that she was slumming it on this network, the syndicated television show. So he always respected her for that, and always he seems to have a deep affection for her. So it's interesting to see them play the scenes because it seems like they're just playing who they are as friends. Who they are as friends. So yeah, that was cool.
Mm.
Oh.
What was your criticism?
They didn't need to mention her age. They needed if they were going to do that, they should have done what they did with Q, like de-age her and then
Q
have her. If they're going to add that thing, maybe have her change as well, like Q was able to change, like.
I was actually relieved that they didn't de-age her.
Right, but
she said she matched.
It didn't make sense though, because why did she not match? What made her decide to start aging herself? Because she looked exactly the same when she was talking to Mark Twain as when she was talking to Picard, almost 450 years later. So what made her decide to age herself now? Is
She might cycle with her contemporary. Like she might cycle with her. Like when Jean-Luc is
so you think she can reverse? She can reverse it. She can reverse it. Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Bounce back.
All right.
Yeah. That would be my. Yeah. But I was relieved that they didn't do like any like de-aging her, because it's like, no, they're buddies.
Yeah.
You know, she's
I mean,
she's long
I didn't.
lived. You know that.
I actually appreciate what they did with Q. Like you got DH for a second, but they're not trying to keep that up for the entire season. It's like he was DH for a couple seconds. So like if they did that, that would have been fine as well. I didn't need her to be. I don't need them to spend. I don't even think they have the budget that Disney has to try to do like a Luke Skywalker thing.
I give the writers credit that they wrote something about aging that people won't notice it and everything. Like Q saying, "Let me catch up," and then Guinan says that it's given the fact that I'm centuries old and everything and pushing it, I'm just trying to catch up a little bit. So. So it's like it's so such a Whoopi thing and everything. But I'm very happy to see Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan. I was like, when I saw that, I said, I'm gonna need some tea.
Yeah, I love the scene.
Yes,
it was a small nitpick from of that because I don't think the line needed to be there. But otherwise, it was good to see Guinan. I hope that's not the first and last time we see her. But with the timeline being rewritten at the end of the episode, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
But it looks like they go back in time as well, right? So you might see her. So, I mean, I'm thinking of people who maybe aren't as familiar with the series. And so if you see her again and she...
Yeah, then they definitely would have to...
What they do with her looks or whatever. But,
I mean, unless the explanation is what you say, like she made herself older because by the 90s or whatever, I think maybe it wasn't the 90s actually, it was the 2020s. She would have looked old to her contemporaries. I don't even know if she's on Earth at this point. Actually, we know that she's on Earth during Mark Twain's time, but it's not a given that she's going to be on Earth during the 2020s. So that's the other thing.
Yeah. So one more thing about it is that I think that I mentioned about this in our pre-production discussion was that, you know, Patrick Stewart actually went on, you know, The View to invite Whoopi Goldberg back, and it was just such a beautiful emotional moment for the both of them, and it was just really well done. If you happen to, you can watch it on YouTube and things like that. It's just really, really well done. And also I think that, you know, she didn't mention in that clip that it was, I think that she was inspired by Nichelle Nichols. And so Nichelle Nichols was inspired by Martin Luther King. So you see that progression of these icons that are there to kind of how Star Trek has influenced, you know, these icons and why they decided to do what they did. And also goes back to what you said, Nathan, is that why, you know, she wanted to do something like a syndicated show like Star Trek was because of Nichelle Nichols. So that was the reason why.
Yeah, she talks about that in the Ready Room. So people haven't seen that episode of the Ready Room. She goes into good detail about why she wanted to do it. And basically she told
LeVar Burton.
Oh gosh.
LeVar
Jordy.
Burton.
I'm blanking on his name.
LeVar Burton.
Yes, LeVar Burton. Sorry. She said to him, like, hey, I wanna do this show because like, to Colin's point and to her point, Nichelle Nichols was an inspiration because you simply did not see, when the original series came out, you did not see Black women in particular portrayed the way Uhura was portrayed. And she, Whoopi points out, she was a beautiful Black woman. And she was the ship's communicator. So you couldn't talk to the ship without going through her.
Yeah.
So she was a really important, even though she didn't get a lot of lines, like her position on the crew was very important. And I think that's like one of the things Star Trek has always sort of done. Even in the original series, you see people of color throughout the series in important, like Dr. Daystrom was a Black man, you know, so like it's always been there. And I think that's why the series has meant a lot to actors, but also to people, to fans, and why people, because movie says you could see yourself in the future, right? And we know, I mean, we still live at a time where I think we just about this in our Discovery discussion, like people that the things that people do out of hatred towards other people. We're still living in those times where people will hate you because of your looks, your sexuality,
right?
All sorts of things that you shouldn't be hated for. And so so I think it's just really like Guinan is one of those characters that just reminds you of the ethos of Star Trek.
As you said, she said that she was definitely seeing that role model gave her hope and led her to the career that she had. And I'm sure it gave hope to a lot of people, because Nichelle, I think there's a documentary that is out that came out last year with Nichelle Nichols, as Colin was alluding to. She was inspired by Martin Luther King. So she was going to quit the show. Nichelle Nichols was going to quit the show, and then Martin Luther King actually spoke to her and said that not just that you're a communication officer, but you're like the third in line for the ship. Like it was her, Spock, and then it was Kirk, Spock, and then her. So she was like third in charge of the ship as well. So like and that was, I think that was Martin Luther King's point as well. This is he understood that there were little Whoopi Goldbergs at home watching this, and he encouraged her to stay on that show because she felt that she wasn't getting enough lines and things like that, but he encouraged her to stay on that show. So yeah.
One other big point is that actually another line that comes. We just on our post in our Facebook post we did a birthday post of Lupita Nyongo, and so Lupita Nyongo actually said that she was
on through the line,
and Whoopi Goldberg. So you can see, like, we're going from MLK all the way to Wakanda. So it's like the nice kind of like line that goes down through history here, and it's just so amazing to kind of
why
read that
representation
and to really witness that firsthand.
It makes no sense why people bitch about like people of color or people from different backgrounds being represented in fantasy or science fiction. I don't know why it makes it less authentic or more woke or whatever, but whatever. Anyway,
I think it's because their worlds are small. Their personal worlds are small, and they don't understand or accept that we exist. Yeah. Right, and it's unfortunate for them, but it does, and I mean, it allows you to tell
more realistic stories,
better stories, more stories, and more realistic stories as well. Like it just enriches all of us, right?
Okay, so after, where were we? I think we were talking about. So
we were in the Stargazer.
We were
fast forwarding it back to the Stargazer.
And then a couple other scenes happen, and then we're Picard is on the Stargazer. He's with Seven, and he's being saluted by everyone. He goes onto the bridge, and once he answers the hail, and we see a Borg ship emerge from the anomaly, and it's a ship, huh? It's what? It's a very different.
I said a very different looking Borg ship.
People have compared it to like a Georgia O'Keeffe painting because it looks very, especially the way that it opens up in the middle, and to send over the Borg Queen. So. Yeah, it's interesting the shape that they're going with there. So yeah, they send over the Queen, and the Queen also looks different. We actually don't get to see her face. They said they're sending an emissary, which is an interesting term to use in Star Trek, given who the emissary was in DS9. Also, if you notice, earlier on in the episode, the tablet that was broken open. in DS9, that tablet that had one of the wormhole aliens inside of it. So that tablet is actually in his study. So there are a couple touch points from DS9 in this episode.
Really?
So she comes over and she says that she wants to negotiate, but she needs power. And it looks like she's just attacking everyone, but I think Jurati or Seven notices that she's just stunning people. So which is not necessarily the MO of the Borg, right? So there's definitely something else going on here. Seven didn't want them to want to open up negotiations in the first place because she's yeah.
He was like, no.
And it's interesting.
Traumatized.
It's interesting at this
completely
point
as a child.
At this point, at the beginning of last season with Picard, I think he would have concurred with her, right? But he gone through this entire thing with Hugh and the XBs and the Borg ship last season, where I think he has more of a more nuanced feelings towards the Borg, so he's more open to them being a potential ally because they would be a very powerful ally if they join the Federation, if they're not being deceptive. But yeah, she didn't want them to come over anyway, so she prods him into setting the self-destruct, which is weird because it's not his ship, and I thought two people have to do it. It was weird that he was able to set the self-destruct by himself. At this point,
maybe because he's an admiral.
Maybe,
but he overrides everybody.
Maybe, but you know how
I assumed that it was going to be with self-destruct sequences.
So if you're just a captain, you need somebody else to co-sign.
Star Trek has so many bad and evil admirals. You don't want to give that power to. You don't want to give that power to just one person, even if they're so many of the villains in so many episodes and even the movies are like evil admirals. So like, I don't know if you want to, or crazy admirals. You don't want to give that power to
the Russian one.
But whatever.
Yeah,
there is some speculation that all of this was a dream sequence because after the ship blows up, he's back in the past. So maybe the fact that he was able to do it was because it wasn't a real ship and none of that was actually real. So yeah, and that's when Q shows up at the end of the episode. And he does the switch. So yeah, they're able to hold him. They're able to hold the younger him with a couple of syllables, and it looks fine from a distance. It looks fine from a distance, and then he moves up.
Yeah,
that's as much as they could actually probably spend on that. Yeah.
I will say I like the look because original Q in that onesie was just not doing it.
He wore different like Star Trek uniforms through all the other
he
series.
did, but I think when he first
he's in the unitard that everyone else is in. But I feel like
unitard,
unlike the main cast where they had fitted unitards, they just gave him one of the ones that they had for like the rest of the Q. Because if you saw the background characters, all of their stuff didn't fit properly because they were like background characters, so they just gave him a background character one, which was super stretchy on him, and it wasn't fitted as well, especially the first time he shows up. But yeah, Jean-Luc is in kind of civilian clothes, so he shows up in civilian clothes as well. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to him dressing up in different things because that was also one of the fun things about Q. He show up and he just keeps the wardrobe changes. So yeah, he says the story, the trial never ends. I think is how we end the episode. So yeah.
Yep. Just like how you said it back in the series finale of TNG.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. We see that he screwed up I don't know if he screwed up the past or someone else screwed up the past, because it might be a misdirect that Q is there, because we thought that he screwed up the past the last time, right? But he wasn't. In the last episode, Jean-Luc was convinced that it was Q who did it, but it wasn't necessarily it was him trying to
Right.
help. That's
Wasn't him.
So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and also, it brings back the memories of First Contact, because that was a time travel one as well, and whether or not the Borg is also involved, or the Borg is actually helping. Maybe the Borg's helping him this time, and Q is the one that's doing things, or Q is just like an observer, and who knows? It really opens up a lot of possibilities, but again, they are kind of referring back to old material here and there, the iterations and things like that. So it'll be very interesting who is the one that's holding all this.
And there's lots
right
of.
now,
I mean, if you've seen
with the time travel,
the trailers, there's lots of interesting dystopian like images from the changed timeline. So they're gonna move. They're gonna go back in time and try to fix that. Fix the timeline. So it's because this is definitely not the mirror universe, because the emblem of the mirror universe of the Terran Empire is like a globe with like a dagger through it, and it's a completely different emblem. So this is not the mirror universe. Something else is going on that they're going to have to fix.
It's like you said in the preview that there's like an authoritarian like a federation or something like that. Even the badge
it's
is
similar,
but
there's also
like
a scene in the trailers where it's the same hall where he gives the speech in this episode in Starfleet Academy, but we have all the flags of this authoritarian state, and then they bring the Borg Queen up on stage chained up, and everyone is like hollering and everything. So I don't know. Maybe this is a Borg from a different universe that's being oppressed by this. Whatchamacallit? That's why they came through the rift. Appeal to join the Federation. Yeah, maybe
appeal to join the Federation.
But I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we have to think about is because we've seen several different versions of the Borg Queen. People thought that the Borg Queen is like the main brain of the Borg itself, but it's really not. Just like the bees, for example, it's just a colony. Like a Borg cube has a queen there. The sphere has a queen, and this one has a queen too. So I think a lot of people are thinking. I saw a lot of comments, people saying, "Why is she still alive?" I'm like, and everyone kept saying, "No, this is a different Borg queen. It's not the same one we saw at First Contact or Voyager." Or even a flashback of back at Voyager where 709 was a simulator.
I think there's two things going on. One, like you said, I think new colonies or new hive minds like elect a queen, but also her consciousness has been transferred to different places. So like there's sometimes it is the same person, and sometimes it's. Yeah. I think they've elected a new queen, or another queen has emerged or whatever. So I don't know what their plan is for this.
Well, she did say in First Contact, don't think in 3-dimensional terms.
So yeah.
Don't be so small. Yeah.
But the thing is that the Borg Queen can assimilate any species. Basically, that's the big thing. Like that's why everyone's like, I'm thinking that when we saw the masked queen, because usually we'd never seen the queen wearing a mask.
Yeah, I don't know if the queen.
That's what everyone's like wondering about. That's why everyone's
speculating, or the same kind of queen that we've seen in the previous iterations of Star. I think she was shrouded for a reason. I think there's a shoe to drop, and we're not going to know what that shoe is. I think she was shrouded for a reason. I don't think that's even in the trailers when you see the Borg Queen like on the stage when she's chained up. I think that's a different person than is under the shroud. And I don't know. I appreciate that we were talking about this when we were talking about, or we mentioned this when we were talking about Discovery. All the costume design was really cool in this episode. They changed their uniforms yet again, because they had different uniforms last season when they had all the flashbacks to Raffi and Picard when they were trying to build all the ships, and then they changed it, and then and then when Riker showed up with the ship, the pips were like on his collar. So in the last year, since the Starfleet is always changing their uniforms. It's funny. But yeah, I actually like these. These are not tucked in. These are probably easier on the actors. They're not like onesies. They're kind of like the Discovery uniforms, but they're not as long. So I like them. Yeah. Anything else? Did we miss anything?
No, just overall looking forward to it. I think that that it's definitely more intensive, and I think that in some places where it was the first season had its uneven parts, I think that overall is strong so far. So hopefully it just kind of carries over, and there's no kind of like weak link episodes as we move along, because definitely when I saw the first season, there were definitely some weak link episodes, but of course the nostalgia part really kind of drove a lot of the story in the first season. Now, because they're going to go back to the past in the year 2024, we don't know whether or not the same individual is going to come back, but I know that I think that Sung was one of the characters that was in the so
and
he might
he's definitely going to show
up.
So we will see yet another Sung because we get to see him. He even showed up in Archer's time as a geneticist. He's part of the reason that we got Khan. It'll be interesting to see over the next couple of weeks. It's hard to tell from the first episode because, as you said, it's a good episode, but the first episode of the last season was also good, and then there were weaker episodes in between. I think even though the first episode of season 1 was strong, I think this is a stronger episode than the first episode of season 1, and hopefully they're able to keep this like they ramp it up, or they keep this level of excellence over the season. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And maybe like during the season, we might have like flashbacks again, like how, I mean, of course they explained it, but we never know because like in this, let's say in the end, near the end of season 1, like Soji is now free and do what she likes, and now we can figure out, maybe we might find out how she became ambassador for the synthetics and androids, and how Elnor became a cadet in Starfleet, because we never seen him in season 1 and interested in Starfleet except Picard, obviously. And there's something to explain of how the relationship between Raffi and 709, and then also how Rios became the captain of the Stargazer, and how he became the Stargazer, and also because because I remember he always wanted to be in season 1. He always wanted to be Starfleet, but he never.
Well, I think it was the traumatic events of the ship.
And then
that he was on. Like his captain committed suicide when he was there, so it kind of messed. It kind of messed with his head. So he dealt with those issues.
Right.
I think we're not going to get the Raffi 7 and 9 stuff because they covered all of that in the radio drama. So you have to go and listen to that radio drama. They're just gonna probably reference it. They're not gonna probably have anything in the episodes. But yeah, I'm interested to see how they're gonna fold in Soji, because I feel like she and Jurati are the two people who they could have dropped from this season if they didn't think of an interesting way to integrate them. So I guess we will see, and we'll see if anyone else pops up. They are actually, I think. Picard, sorry, I keep saying Picard. Patrick Stewart said that they are a couple weeks away from finishing up season 3. So they're nearly wrapping season 3, and it's going to be 20 episodes altogether. So yeah, I don't know if we're going to see any more people from TNG this season, but definitely some people will probably pop up next season as well. So it should be interesting over the next couple years with this show. Yeah, I think they're saving the Enterprise for the third season.
Yeah, I know. But more from the Enterprise.
They have to have an Enterprise there. I mean, especially
E or
maybe
F. Yeah,
Enterprise
I think they ended
E,
up
or
with
at least
F
an F, maybe
in the game
So
or the movie. I think F was the game. Okay. So
game.
yeah, I guess,
Game.
and actually, I think there's a prelude comic where Worf is the captain of the Enterprise. So
That is actually it was actually Data. The prelude of the prelude comic. Yeah, I read that comic book. It was before the
no.
Kelvin
I mean
timeline
a
comic
prelude
book.
to Picard. It was
They have
there was a comic where Geordi was in
never
it,
mind.
and I think Worf was in it. Geordi was actually helping with the engineering effort of building all those ships, and I think Worf was the captain of the Enterprise. So maybe we'll actually see that in season 3, because I doubt that the Enterprise is going to show up in this season. They have to deal with all this time travel stuff. So yeah, so we shall see. I'm looking forward to the season. It's a really good start. But as you were saying, Colin, season 1 was a little uneven. I mean, I like season 1. There are people that hated season 1, but I like season 1 in general.
Yeah.
But it was uneven. So yeah. All right. If there are no other thoughts or comments, you guys know what we think, but we want to hear what you guys think. So please comment down below to join the conversation. And like and subscribe to get more content like this. And we will see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.